want you to start thinking about how each of those things that you've said, separation, isolation, divorce, absence, and most importantly, at least from my perspective, and from my perspective in the organizing work that I do in this city, from Lincoln Park to West Side, to Harriet Tubman, to South Chattanooga, to all the different poor places, to all the different marginalized communities, how does what you don't see shape this piece just in the same way as how does what you don't see shape the city you live in? And there's plenty of ways in which things that you don't see, stories that you may have heard about, histories, alternative histories, people's histories, histories that you don't hear about. There's plenty of ways in which Chattanooga is shaped by forces you don't see. It's shaped by absence. It's shaped by trauma. I mean, we all know one, right? You ever gone down over there to the riverfront? Seen those water cannons shooting out? You know what that is, right? Somebody tell me what that is?
Side of the Trail of Tears.
It's the side of the Trail of Tears. And what happened there? Briefly.
Forced removal of the Cherokee. All this land up on the south side of the river that wasn't the Cherokee Nation.
Well, one example is I do a lot of work with Hamilton County schools. One of my passions is about getting art into schools that do not have art programs. Right now in Hamilton County, there are 33 elementary schools that do not have art programs in their schools. And also doing a lot of work with schools in the Highland Park area that even when there are field trips offered for these kids, there's no logistical ability for them to go to events like here at the Hunter. It's very difficult there are no chaperones available because parents work 12-hour shifts. There's no extra thing so they can make that happen. So you got to look at other ways to bring creative and art opportunities into those schools and to those kids so you can engage them in a way. Because I think it's a shame to let a child grow up till they hit 6th grade and they're starting to become self-conscious and now they get an opportunity to start expressing themselves. I think we need to reevaluate that picture. That's just me and that's my story. So.
Responses. I like a lot of what she says. Response.
I think it's very similar to this painting. I think the feeling that we're getting from this is that there's a disconnection. It's very nice to see both of the sexes represented, but there is nothing there. It's almost like it was these images that were taken to work this land, to create, and yet one natural disaster or a horrible injury and no health insurance, or poverty comes in and the crops are eliminated, or somebody's lost a job, or housing has been taken away, and all we're left is these empty vessels. So to me, what it's showing us is the hard work and the individual energy that it's taken, and yet there's no record of it. No one has ever taken the time to even write about it. It happened and now it's gone.
You made a question about what I see and what I don't see. And one of the reasons that attracted me here was because it's sort of the national template for food deserts. Then, when you go to the west side, or some parts of the south side, or some of the east side, we are one of the most radical food desert populations in the United States, where poverty doesn't have access to fruits and vegetables. We have a food bank, but people have to be transported to it, and oftentimes they don't have transportation. We have a mobile market, but sometimes it even shows up at schools on days that don't have school days. So that's not a total critique of them. I'm just saying that there's
disconnection.
Yeah, it's like that. There's sometimes disconnects with our paternalism toward how we want to help people and what the actual on the ground needs are. Is this
I think poverty is a great force, a huge, huge force that shapes in very real ways, moves the physical, social, definitely the economic, but also the psychic and the spiritual landscape of Chattanooga. Poverty is something you can see, its consequences and its effects is something that you can see. But again, going back to kind of how I was drawn to this piece right here, is that whatever has done this situation to these people or to this world or to this root tree and the whole system of order and things, it's something that was violent. Something that was violent. But also there's this juxtaposition, both here and both in the city in which we live, right? And 23% of Chattanoogan suffer from it, according to the most recent U.S. Census Bureau data. 45% of all Chattanoogans, not just in the urban core, but throughout the city, suffer from low income status. That's a huge force that's dictating how Chattanooga's. What else? What are some of the things that you see in Chattanooga that just strike you in the way that this painting does?
Well, if I can say something to complicate what you just said, it's not in defense, but actually critique of the museum. Students from across the poverty spectrum, frankly, do come here thanks to Title I funding and buses, but are we really feeding them in the same way? They come here once, they can't afford to take our classes or summer camp. Their parents don't have the transportation to bring them in, even on our free first Sundays. And we're still not assisting them in, while we're making them feel comfortable while here, they're not wearing the same clothes as the other schools they see here. And they're not getting any better food when they get home or greater safety. So these little things happen, but there's not continuity beyond K-5.
Right here.
Yeah, it seems so decadent, and going back to Adara's statement about who's being fed in this painting, and birds are being fed. It's almost like it's just, yeah, it's just like it's not even relevant. It's there to put up kind of like a fake facade. How I always knew that when Chattanooga kind of wanted to dress itself up, we would start laying bricks on sidewalks. And so in a way, that bird feeder is kind of that same representation. Instead of putting books into schools, we put bricks on the sidewalk.
It's like it's on a different plane. Like there are 3 planes here. The pants are on the forefront. Those things are hanging sort of in that middle plane, and then the jacket and the, I guess, coloring are in the background.
Can anybody reach them?
They're not in any contact with those things in the middle.
You can never jump up high enough from that point.
Ant's got me thinking about the bird feeder. You made me realize when you were talking about feeding birds or what does it feed, it made me think about why we even put bird feeders up in the first place. We don't put them up to attract crows, or we put them up to attract pretty birds. We put them up so we can,
For whose pleasure?
for our own pleasure.
There you go. Anybody ever go on Chattanooga.com? There's a poll on there right now, and it said, should Chattanooga still be the choo-choo city? Kind of silly sounding, but what it means is, so we've got what downtown? The Chattanooga choo-choo. It's a hotel. It's all about trains. Do we have any trains? No, we don't. We've got an incline that got people from work to home to work to home again. Who does it serve? Tourists. We've got an economic revitalization and a renaissance, and I may make some people mad. Who does it serve? Does it serve people that wear these kinds of clothes?
Serves rich people and tourists.
Are the tourists the birds?
The tourists could be the birds. I like that. This whole thing is an environment, and it's a messed up environment. I mean, there's a 45% low income rate, like 50% of black men in the urban core are unemployed. You've got entire census districts where there's 33% unemployment for God knows how long. At the same time, you've got city and county government giving $23 million in corporate money towards the Volkswagen project, and only less than 1/10% of that money went to African American or women-owned firms. You've got this entire environment where people are being rounded up, shot, suicide, and social silence just kind of form this oppressive culture. But do you see that little shade of blue right there? Right there. It's not the only thing that exists. There's some hope.
Right, and the shapes are not crumbling, they're not like lying down. They're still holding hope. The vessels are empty, but they're upright.
And look, when we were having that discussion about that world and that field, it went kind of back and forth, is it salted almost, or is it ready to be replanted? What would happen if that broke? All the seeds would come tumbling down.